Hello, this is Boosh here with a guide for E8S. Today we're going to be talking about a melee uptime strat for Icelit Dragonsong. Now before we go into the details of the uptime strat, we should briefly discuss the conventional strat, which has the DPS go to this outer ring on the intercards to bait the star AoE, then run in, get knocked back, and bait their puddles whilst heavied around this outer edge. Now as a melee, this is obviously terrible for uptime, since you both lose uptime whilst going out to bait your star AoE, and then lose a bunch of uptime as you're baiting your puddles around the outside. So, to resolve this, instead we position as so. Now, the melees specifically position on the inside point on the east and west of the four-pointed star. Ranged are on opposing intercards on the conventional intercard spots, and tanks are on the max melee spots on the tip of these arrows on the north and south when they get frozen, which is also where the melees will want to go for baiting their first puddle, which we'll see later. So the start of the mechanic will look something like this. Do note, healers might want to back out slightly to give a bit of breathing room for the melee's AoEs, but they can then move in after for the knockback. So the AoEs lock in place, the melees pivot north and south inside the boss's hitbox in preparation for the knockback. The knockback happens, and now tanks are frozen in place. Melees will want to meet up with them, and healers will want to go counterclockwise. Now, healers will want to go right to the edge of their towers, roughly where this meets, which we'll see when the safe spots are revealed later. As for melees, if you have a gap closer saved up, you can gap close immediately after the knockback to get right on the edge of the boss's hitbox and then back out to max melee. Alternatively, if you're on, for instance, ninja, you can right on as you're moving in to keep up time. Now, how this actually looks when the star AoEs resolve is like this. So you can see the healers have a big safe spot on the counterclockwise spots, which is why we have them pivot there. Ranged have the conventional safe spot, and tanks and melees have on the max melee point on the north and south a little pocket of safe space. Now once this star resolves, tanks will unfreeze. They should then run southwest and northeast to resolve the tower in the middle and in preparation for the stack spread. Melees here will want to stay just inside this ring on max melee and rotate counterclockwise. Ranged and healers will rotate around the edge clockwise. So as we see, tanks have a spread here, so they stay in their intercard positions. Melees continue pivoting around. It's worth noting here that the first melee puddle disappears as the third one drops, which leaves a little channel for the ranged and healer on their side and the melee from the other side to move into towards the end of the puddle mechanic. What this means is everybody's nice and close for the last tower, where you need to quickly move in if you have two stacks. Once that tower is resolved, you have plenty of time to get to a protean spread to resolve the last protean. Here we have melees on the northeast and northwest, specifically so they can hit positionals on the boss. Now, for an actual clip of this being resolved in-game, here's me on ninja. You can see I position on the east spot, on just inside the tip. You can see the healer on the east moves out slightly to avoid my AoE and then moves in after for the knockback. I pivot south in preparation for the knockback. As the knockback resolves, I right on as I'm moving in to keep uptime, and then start pivoting counterclockwise max melee, keeping full uptime through the full mechanic. You can also see that the tank spread resolves well before the melees ever get near them, so that's safe. And then you have plenty of time for the last protean spread here. And that's it. That's the uptime mechanic. It requires very little, extra difficulty in positioning, whilst enabling like a good 20 seconds extra of uptime for each of your melees. So If you're already familiar with the conventional strat, there's actually very little positional changes that are needed for non-melees, and where there is precise positioning, there's very nice lines on the ground to use as a reference point, which should make it a lot easier to execute as well. So especially if you're running double melee, this can be quite a nice safety net for damage for meeting the DPS check. And the other thing as well is if your group's been doing the downtime strat and you fail the DPS check, rather than having to, like, you know, address potential skill issues, you can just now blame it on the fact that your group's using a downtime strat rather than this uptime strat. Now that this knowledge is out there, that's my big contribution to this 3-year-old raid. But yeah, thanks for watching. This was a bit of a test run for me. I'm looking to potentially get into making video guides for strats and stuff for 6.4 when the Savage drops. So I'm very open to like feedback on format and style, and you know, any suggestions on useful resources would be very good. I thought as a test run, a strat that I haven't seen about that my blind group for Eden came up with, I thought would be novel and interesting for some people. So yeah, so leave feedback in the comments. I'll try to improve the next video as best I can based on that feedback. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next vid.